Welcome to our Women's World discussion this Thursday morning. Today's focus is on the importance of family support. It is important to surround ourselves with family and friends for support and comfort in both times of joy and distress. But are we practicing that today? Does the village still play an important role in the development of our children? Let's welcome Sonia Wynter, Associate Clinical Psychologist, and Mickelle Frith, nurse, teacher, mother, and everything woman this morning to discuss. Good morning, ladies.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are we this Thursday?
Fine, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yes, excited. You are most welcome.
Yes, thanks for having us.
So, on a Thursday morning, we go all things female. We try to have those conversations. And, this has always been a program, not just prescribed or for this time as we experience a lot of issues where women are concerned. But we have had this program, so we're happy to do that. So let's jump right into it. What is the whole concept, Sonia, about family support, right? The importance of family support. But before we look at the importance, right? What does family support look like for someone?
Yes. Okay. If you think about family support, particularly for children growing up, you grow up in a unit called a family. And to the extent that you experience healthy support, it means that this child is seen, meaning understood and observed. Their needs are met, emotional and logistical needs. It means that that child feels safe in that family, that they won't be harmed in any way, they won't be abused in any way. And that child feels also that that family unit is a place where they can go for soothing in times of distress. That's what healthy family support looks like, that, your support systems are within reach when you need them, and they also affirm you as an individual. So that creates a sense of confidence and a sense of independence that you can go out into the world and thrive,
All right.
So
All right. Thank you for that framing there. And then, Mickelle, probably you want to jump in if you have any other things you'd like to add or on what Sonia just said.
Yes, and family support, thanks again, family support also incorporates, the rest of the individuals in the family member as well, in the family team as well, because, their children as well, that's very important, and you have the adults as well, that's there. Thanks.
All right. And I think you jumped a bit into it, Sonia, when you spoke of, when we were saying what exactly is it, but then you spoke also to the importance, the fact that, these are things that help children thrive and help them have that level of confidence. In regards to just the whole concept of the role it plays in the development of a child, where are we as a nation, culturally? Do we see ourselves really expressing the healthy family support?
Mm-hmm. I think I prefer always this from a point of view of statistics, Tamian, and that's hard for me to say. I will say that there are a lot of examples where the family is supportive of all the members of the family. Jamaica still has a culture of a sort of a communal approach to family, where we engage with our neighbors, we have extended family around us quite often, and that's in comparison to a more individualistic society as, say, the United States.
I was about to say, yes, relative to a specific kind of culture.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, that's right. So culturally speaking, we have more of a communalistic approach to family than many other more other wealthier countries, and that serves us well. There are a lot of studies that are coming out now that are showing that those countries where the family unit is a cohesive one, also where the family unit includes extended families, uncles and aunts and third generations, parents living, that they have noticed that the indicators about healthy relationships within the family and therefore the transmission of important family values takes place in a more seamless way, in a more successful way in those communities, of which Jamaica is one, comparatively speaking.
Okay. And Mickelle, anything on that based on what Sonia just spoke about?
Yes, I'm realizing as well that there are research that shows that family that really has that close knit, the children, regarding children, Sonia mentioned children earlier, that they had later on in life, they had more supportive relationships. And our context in Jamaica is a very ideal situation where you have the extended family and that helps to raise the children. So I believe it's a very good example here in Jamaica in comparison to other countries worldwide.
And let's bring it now in comparison to ourselves. Where have we though you have shaped it, both Sonia and Mickelle, in regards to, let's say, more first world countries and so forth. As a nation, we've been hearing a lot of different conversations that are trending against what we just described ourselves as, stating that we have lost the moral fiber and the family is failing and parenting is an issue. Is there any truth to that, where we are now as a nation in 2021?
Well, I think it's hard to describe us as a nation, because what we see in the media and so on are those, more often are those examples where family cohesiveness has broken down and individuals have suffered. That's most often what is brought to the news. That's what we see most often. I'm not sure that I can say that by and large. I think it would be important to, speak with social scientists and those people who are examining the family structure and taking in important data to be sure as to whether has the family as a unit become stronger over our history and versus today, or not. That's more of a scientific undertaking to know what that looks like. I think it's important to recognize, though, that what we see are most often those examples where the family has broken down. But that is not to say that there aren't many, many, many families that are successful as well. It's just that there are not as many stories about those situations as well. I don't want to disregard what we're seeing in the media, though. We see in the newspapers and on television and so on are really horrendous stories that we cannot ignore, and that we do have to put in place, structures that can support individuals so that they are better equipped emotionally, certainly to support family members and ensure the emotional resilience of every single member of the family.
All right, Mickelle, do you agree with Sonia there, or do you have a different, thought? Do you have different thoughts around that? Let's hear your take on it.
Thanks. Is what I'm actually seeing, because with the evidence that we have seen with researches regarding teenage pregnancy and teenage pregnancy rates, Jamaica is the third highest in the Caribbean, in the English-speaking Caribbean, regarding teenage pregnancy rate. And looking at it in comparison to back then, maybe my grandmother time when she used to grow, the rate wasn't so high, because you would have had more persons involved in these persons' life and guiding them and leading them. Now, with the breakdown in society and men not standing up to their role as father in the house, it tends to cause a breakdown in the family structure, where you have the mother there to help with the guidance and the father there to help with the guidance. So you can see that there is a breakdown in the Jamaica society in comparison to previous times, where there was more stable structure and the village was able to raise a child, because now persons are more afraid to even speak to a child if they see a child misbehaving on the road, or they know that, oh, this is Sonia's child, we have to slap her up. What you doing down here? You shouldn't be down here. But now persons are more reserved and not wanting to actually be active in the development of children in society. So I think there is a breakdown from what it was before.
All right. And again, we're not rolling out figures here and statistics, but as Sonia mentioned, that there could be, don't want to say sensationalism, but what we see more of would be the we tend to run with that and it gets viral, but it is indeed something happening. So minus the figures and the statistics though, how do we really set up our families for success as it relates to the concept that we're here discussing, which is the importance of family support? Because you have the nuclear family, you have single parent homes. How do we, for example, set up support for a single parent home, family home?
Yeah, I think as it's as Mickelle spoke earlier. The village is important. To the extent that many of our homes are run only by women, single women, and to the extent that her community can gather around her, providing support. That can often happen. Not only financial support, but in terms of helping her through her day-to-day, just caring for her children, that sort of a thing. That certainly makes a difference, because the truth is that every single family faces a lot of stressors. Stressors as children grow up. We're going through an incredibly stressful experience right now with this pandemic. And to the extent that there are different individuals in the community and within the family to support each other through these difficult times that we go through, every family will go through, then that's what makes a difference in terms of the success rate of how children grow up to be independent individuals who can make a meaningful contribution to their community and their society.
All right, Mickelle?
Yes, I think that the more access to social support systems in terms of most persons in Jamaica, and not just to one segment of the population, would help to stem this problem. And maybe, I'm seeing in the first world countries where a person will go out and say, for instance, there's somebody needs to speak to a psychologist. They'll just book an appointment and go. I'm not seeing like Jamaica having that, reaching at that level to say, okay, we're needing a lot of help, or this family, or say, I need help, so I'll go to a social worker and discuss what is happening with me and my family. As a single mother would maybe say, I need support, I need help from somebody external to help me to raise my children the way I should. That is lacking. So I guess maybe more educational programs could be implemented, and persons be more aware of the support systems that are available to them, because that could be a contributing factor, but don't have the evidence, but we could conclude to say that is a contributing factor.
All right, and I know, indeed, the culture, and we spoke earlier, you mentioned, Sonia, that the whole fact that we tend to be more village-like in our approach, culturally here, and we look out for each other, or that's how it has been, and how we were brought up, that type of thing. And in the US and other countries, for example, it's kind of, you're on your own. You may not know the neighbor, may not talk to the neighbor, just dependent. You probably find more persons coming together in a more Caribbean community within those first world countries, but not so much the general space. But with that though, and I love the point you raised, Mickelle, about the social support, that could also be part of it, because for Jamaicans, it seems we tend to want to not tell anybody we're business too much necessarily. We don't want to look away, and that could be part of our culture. Just saying, as you were saying, we don't have the figures. But the role of the social services, is that now then also another version of the layer of family for us? Because families, normally the single, the nuclear, the extended, but all the other support systems around your workplace, that kind of thing. Now, how do we incorporate that into the true understanding of the importance of family support?
Mm-hmm. What I will say though, Tammy, is that one thing about this pandemic is that it has served to break down or to start the process of changing people's attitudes towards mental health, and using the services that are available to individuals and families to help them through emotional difficulties. That's one thing I have to say about this pandemic, that more and more individuals and families are accessing support from therapists, from psychologists, and understanding the importance of it. So you know, that feeling of wanting that you know, I don't want to be embarrassed, or not even understanding the importance of mental health support. That's changing. That's one of the things that's changing, thanks to, you know, people like you in the media who, you know, publish a lot of information, have programs about supporting mental health. All the, you know, mental health month and year, there's a lot of you know, PR and so on about the importance of mental health and where you can go to get help. And I think that's making a big difference. I think that's one of the things that has arisen as a result of this pandemic.
Yes, but because I actually meant, and probably I can throw this one to Mickelle, you know, pretty much the concept of the family dynamics. Do you think, Mickelle, that has changed a bit because of, you know, the COVID-19 pandemic in any way?
Yes, it has changed immensely because initially when the pandemic started and there was lockdown, there was family, more specifically, family working from home, breadwinners losing jobs, or persons, if they didn't lose a job, they had less remuneration because they had to keep the job. So they would have maybe decided, or the boss had decided, and they went and agreed to say, yes, they will take a pay cut in order to keep the job. Children being at home, sometimes maybe if it's a single parent family, the mother or the father has to leave to go to work. So the children maybe they're having to monitor themselves or asking neighbor if neighbor is there to just give an eye, which is not the ideal situation because children need constant supervision. And with the online learning, there are persons who were affected because of lack of devices, and parents can't afford to get devices, connectivity issue if you don't have a device, and increasing. There was a research that I was reading the other day, and it showed that since the pandemic, there was a vast increase in family violence with the lockdown, and persons were drinking more. In UK, they even show a result that there was 18% more persons buying alcoholic beverage and having it at home because they weren't able to go to bars. So there's a lot of things that the pandemic has caused in breakdown in the dynamics of the family. You couldn't know about split ups and stuff like that because of the breakdown and the violence, more intimate partner violence and violence towards the children. So that it has greatly affected. And the boys, there was a result that came out as well that showed that the boys, there was a small amount of boys that had dropped out of school, but since the pandemic, the numbers have increased. I can't remember the figure now, but they said that the numbers have increased with the amount of boys that have dropped out from school since the online learning, which is a challenge to the family dynamics now.
All right, Sonia, your thoughts on that? You know, how has COVID really shifted in any way or the family dynamics?
Mm-hmm. The outcomes that Mickelle has discussed are important stressors to the family. And what has happened, I mean, there has been research that has come out peculiar to Jamaica and the Caribbean, done by UNICEF and by Capri, that shows that where there were difficulties and challenges within families, such as domestic violence, such as parental and spousal abuse, such as family tensions, the having to be at home, locked away from their communities, and so on, that exacerbated many of those existing problems. And that's something that we're all grappling with as well, you know. So that and also, as I mentioned earlier, the truth is that people's mental health are suffering tremendously. You know, in many countries, depression and anxiety have gone up by as much as 30 and 40% so far. And of course, those kinds of individual mental health challenges are going to have a very destructive effect on family cohesion. And those are some of the realities that we are facing, you know, as a result of this pandemic.
Of the pandemic. I would love to start talking more now, leaning to how do we, you know, and we can't broad brush anything in life. It doesn't exist. We all differ. Our families are set up differently, our environment, all of those things, and we understand that. But genuinely, what is the first step to understanding and setting up the best healthy family support structure. And I would love to start with you, Sonia. For our viewers who may be watching and saying, yeah, I hear all what you're saying, you all are dropping, the research or, figures, and we know we're going through certain things, but I'm trying to figure it out. How do I start that process, Sonia?
How do we start the process of setting up a healthy family is the question.
Healthy family, right, healthy family structure so that family support is at the forefront of our minds.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it, I think Mickelle referred to earlier, it's about education, having an understanding of what this commitment, when you're starting a family, what this is going to require of you, first and foremost. What your children are going to need, what's important that children have to thrive.
Right, because most times we don't. A lot of I wanted to stop you because I guess culturally, I don't know if it is proven, but there are some cultures that a lot of people plan their pregnancies and plan their lives. For us here, I can tell you, neither of my pregnancies were planned per se, and I find I've spoken to many men and women who have said, it just kind of, we know it happened, but it just happened, as we said, we don't know, kind of thing. When planned parenting, is that something that is lacking here before you continue on that point?
Well, you know what, though, Tammy, I'm so glad you raised that because, we have had family planning in Jamaica for many, many decades.
Yes,
it has, by and large, been a successful program. That's the wonderful thing, because if you notice, the, numbers of children that families are having across the society is coming down. I mean, there are cases where a lot of pregnancies and families are not planned, but in terms of our trajectory over history, the family planning a project in Jamaica is one that has been successful. People certainly at least know how important it is. You remember we had these logos, two is better than too many.
Correct.
That was a phrase that had traction.
Yes.
And made a difference to how people looked at families, because I think, in generations past, it wasn't anything it wasn't unusual, and people didn't look at you askance if you had 6 or 7 or 8 or 12 children. It was just such as it was, you know what I mean? That still happens now, but at least people understand it as not a wise thing to do. At least understand it as that you're not setting yourself up for success. So that's a good thing. However, there is more ground to cover in terms of not only having the knowledge, but be enabling individuals in society to feel empowered to plan their families. You know what I mean? Feeling that this society provides the kind of education will provide for my child's educational needs. I have a social system that will support me. These are the avenues that I can get support from, and this is a gap that I'm going to have to fill as a parent, that my parenting is a commitment to a child that's going to require sacrifice from me, and a deliberacy in how I go about caring for this family. I think that's very important to understand, and that more and more people not only understand but feel enabled to make that difference within their family unit.
Mickelle, your thoughts around that? How do we really start looking at setting up ourselves for success where family support is concerned?
Family support, as you know, as I said, education is important. So you have to make that available on all scales so you can actually have different sessions with different locations to say, yes, okay, we're going to be empowering individuals with the knowledge so they can be appropriately informed with the decisions that they make and the parental styles, because sometimes persons may need help regarding raising their children and the different parenting styles and stuff, because, back then you would have persons with corporal punishment and stringent on it, but there are different parenting styles available now. So persons in family could be made aware of the different aspects that are available to them, because sometimes persons may truly not know what they have at their disposal to help them to be a better family, to succeed at raising their kids and making them a positive member in society. So I think that is important, the educational aspect of it, and ensuring that the services that are there are available and affordable, and one-on-one intervention with families that may be experiencing challenges regarding the parenting styles or any problems with children who may be misbehaving. So at least they can have those services available to help build the family.
That's sounding, and thank you both ladies, because what has come out as we close this segment is a lot, obviously, about how we as the government, our nation, how our leaders put policies and programs in place to support now, so they become the true extended family outside of the structure of the family, by way of supporting the nation with our needs. Ladies, as usual, it's always a pleasure, Sonia, to have you on, and it was great with you also, Mickelle. Thank you so much, Sonia Wynter and Mickelle Frith, for your tremendous contribution this morning for this discussion. This could go on and on and on, but that's it for our Women's World discussion this Thursday morning. Stay with us, more Sunrise to come.